You don't like how you've been feeling lately, lethargic, unhealthy, unmotivated, and you don't like what you see in the mirror either. Is it too late for you, or is there hope yet? Fortunately, there is hope yet, and in this video, you'll get step-by-step instructions on how to get your life back as a senior. When it comes to motivation, there are really two components. One is importance, and the other one is confidence. Importance means, is it meaningful enough for you? Is it worth it? Confidence means, do you have confidence in your abilities to get the job done? So let's start with importance. You have to understand your motivation. So why are you doing this? Why do you want to get in better shape? Why do you want to improve your strength? Why do you want to lose weight? Whatever the case may be, ask why. And the answer should be pretty deep. Not just, so I feel better. Maybe the answer should be, so I can get off the couch easier. Maybe the answer could be, so that I can play with my grandkids better, so I can travel. So it needs to be personally meaningful to you. It can't be vague. You need to paint a vivid picture of the benefits that you will achieve as a result of getting to this goal. Once you understand what your motivation is, then you set a behavior goal. And here's what I mean by that. There's a difference between behavior goals and outcome goals. An example of an outcome goal is the end result. So for example, I want to lose 20 pounds. That is an outcome goal. Unfortunately, a lot of outcome goals are outside of your control. So what you want to do is you want to set behavior goals. For example, a better goal would be, I want to exercise for an hour, 3 days per week. That is a behavior goal. Another behavior goal would be, I want to eat 5 servings of vegetables per day. So you want to break down your big outcome goal into 1, 2, or 3 behavior goals. Don't set too many behavior goals, because then you're less likely to achieve any of them. So set just 1, 2, or 3 behavior goals, and that's it, and reevaluate how well it's working for you after a certain period of time. Next, if you want to get your life back as a senior, you choose where to start. You have really 2 options, nutrition or exercise. Let's say you selected exercise. Ask yourself, how much time can you realistically devote to it? And I emphasize realistically because very often we think, how many time can we ideally devote to it? Sometimes ideal is also realistic, but very often, maybe 80 or 90% of the time, it's not. We have the ideal amount of time we can devote to it, and then the time we can really devote to it. So ask yourself realistically how much time you can devote to that. And how do you know you figured out the correct time? You run what I call the confidence test. You simply ask yourself, on a 0 to 10 scale, how confident am I that I can commit this amount of time or every week to exercise? So let's say you said you want to devote an hour to exercise. On a 0 to 10 scale, how confident are you? If your answer was 5 out of 10, you have to make it easier. You may have to make it so easy that it's a no-brainer. Your answer should be 9 or 10 out of 10. If you think that an hour a day, 3 times per week is a 5 out of 10, you're not very confident you can do that every time, even when you get busy with work, family obligations, etc. Make it easier. What if you did it 1 hour twice per week? What if you did it 40 minutes 3 times per week? Keep making it easier and easier and easier until you get to a 9 or 10 out of 10. Next, we always plan for the perfect scenario, and then real life happens and we fall off the bandwagon. It happens with diets, it happens with exercise, etc. The reason for that is because we plan for the best case scenario, we don't really plan for the worst case scenario. So what you need to do in step 2 is you need to anticipate the expected obstacles. So figure out what would it be? Do you have a job that makes you on call, so you have to work a lot of overtime, unexpected hours? Do you have some family obligations that might come up? So you have to plan for what can you do in the worst case scenario, not what can you do in the best case scenario, because rarely is life a best case scenario. Once you've identified your obstacles, have a backup plan of what to do when an obstacle does come up. Can you shorten your workout? Can you reschedule your workout? Can you do a different workout? After a month of sticking to your realistic exercise goals, evaluate how well you did. How was your compliance to your exercise routine? Let's say you wanted to do 1 hour, 3 days per week. Did you succeed at that? Did you have better than 80% compliance? Did you have worse than 80% compliance? If your compliance to your goal was better than 80%, that's awesome. Add something on top of that. Maybe instead of doing 60 minutes, 3 days per week, maybe try 60 minutes, 4 days per week, or maybe 3 days per week for 65 minutes. Just have one small thing you can build on top of that. That's if you did better than 80%. Now, what if you couldn't do 80%? What if your compliance was less than 80%? You plan to do an exercise or a workout 3 days per week for an hour, so in a month, that would be 12 hours. Did you succeed at least less than 10 hours? If that's the case, well, make the goal easier. Maybe instead of exercising 3 days per week for an hour, set the goal, change the goal to 3 days per week for 40 minutes, or 2 days per week for an hour, and then reevaluate again next month. How did you do? Did you now have better than 80% compliance? If so, try building up to that again. If you had less than 80% compliance, make it even easier. Initially, the goal is simply compliance, not necessarily perfection. Only after you've hit your targets consistently for 3 months in a row, start looking for effectiveness. Try to figure out what you can do to maximize your time. But until then, your simple goal is compliance. The motto is first, just do it. Once you've done it for 3 months in a row, then do it right. So that is an example if you chose exercise as your vehicle to improve your body. What if you chose nutrition? And by the way, there's no right or wrong here. Either one is a fine place to start to improve your body. But if you chose nutrition, ask yourself what is just one thing you can do. And that one thing can't be go on a diet. That's a million different things. That one thing could be I just want to have more protein at breakfast or more protein at lunch. Something ridiculously simple that's easily measurable. Okay? When you say more protein, maybe you say 20 grams of protein, not like an egg, which is only 6 grams. Ask yourself, what is one simple thing you can do? The rest of your diet, don't change it. Don't deliberately change it. In other words, if it changes by itself without your conscious effort, great. But you're not trying to change it, because the more things you try to change at the same time, the less likely you are to hit any of those things. So very, very important to only identify one thing. And then the same process applies as you did with exercise. You confidence test that thing that you picked. So let's say you selected, I want to eat 5 servings of vegetables per day. You ask yourself, on a 0 to 10 scale, how confident am I that I'm going to do that thing? And again, if you scored less than 9 out of 10, make it easier. Instead of saying 5 servings of vegetables a day, try 4 or 3 or 2 or 1. Whatever it takes for you to get your confidence up to 9 or 10 out of 10. And then just like with exercise, you want to anticipate obstacles. What could get in the way of that nutritional habit you selected? Is it your grocery shopping? Does somebody shop for you, etc.? And finally, we're continuing the same process as we use with exercise. After a month, evaluate how you did. If you had better than 80% compliance, awesome, build on that. If you had worse than 80% compliance, that's no problem. This is just adjusting the habit that you need to make. Make it even easier. Instead of having 5 servings of vegetables per day, try 3 or 2 or 1. If 1 is even too difficult, try 1 serving every other day. If you want more help getting your life back as a senior, there are 2 ways we can help you. 1, we have a free exercise and nutrition newsletter for people over 50. Check that out and you can sign up for it for free at the link in the description below. The second method is with a more personalized, tailored approach. It's with one-on-one coaching. We can do that either in person if you're in the greater Toronto area or virtually, no matter where you are in the world. The first step to that is setting up a very quick 10 to 15 minute Zoom chat where we'll talk about your goals, we'll identify what does it take for you to get from where you are to where you want to be. This is not a sales pitch, there's no obligation, it's simply a conversation. So check that out in the description below.